In planning your lessons, I recommend having one main topic for each time that you see your students. But that doesn't mean that you should only do one activity. So today's video, we are going to talk about what should be included in that time with your students so that they are engaged and having a good time while they're learning. Let's jump in. Hi friend, thank you for stopping by the channel. My name is Pam Wilson. I'm a general music teacher in Northern Virginia in the USA, and I provide practical strategies for new and newer music teachers on my channel. And if that is you, please hit subscribe and like so that you can get new videos when they come out. In one of my previous videos on lesson planning, I suggested having one main concept or one main topic per class lesson, whether it's an hour class or a 30-minute class or whatever. That really helps you to focus your teaching on that one thing. But that doesn't mean that you're only going to have one activity. As a matter of fact, you should mix up your activities and change things up at least every 10 minutes. More frequently if you have younger students and less frequently if you have older students. So that's the general rule, is in a 30-minute class you're going to have 2 to 3 activities. In an hour class you're going to have 3 to 5 activities. As you're planning those activities, you want to keep in mind that just like you, students have different learning styles. Some of are visual, some are social, some are kinesthetic, some are auditory. There's different kinds of learners. And there's also lots of different personalities. There's a million different personality tests that you can take, but there's generally people who are more extroverted, more introverted, more active, and more passive. That's sort of a general way of thinking about it. And so you have some kids who really want to interact with each other and some who are very hesitant to interact with each other. You have some that want to jump up and down and be very physical, and there's some that really just need to sit and be quiet. And so if you mix up the kinds of activities that you choose for your lesson, then you're bound to get somebody excited about at least part of your lesson every single time you see your class. Lots of times when kids come into your classroom, they are wiggly because who knows where they've been before they came in. They were at recess, they were at lunch, they were taking a math test, they were having silent reading, whatever it was. But when they come into your room, you have to be able to get them in the room. And one of the best ways to do that is with some sort of physicality. It could be just as simple as stretches, vocal warm-ups and stretches. My kids are huge lovers of a game called Four Corners. Music Play Online has a really fun way of doing it where there's a little bit of music that happens and then they run to the different corners and then they play a rhythm or whatever, and the kids have to decide if their corner is out or not. And that is a huge win in my room, the Four Corners, because they're running around and they're running around with purpose. They're not just being wild, right? Body percussion is a fantastic way of getting kids moving in a little bit more controlled way. So if you're a little nervous about getting kids running around your classroom, this would be a great option for you. So body percussion is anything that you snap, clap, pat your knees, stomp your feet. Body percussion is a carry-on from the ham bone days, actually, and it has turned into something really fun that we do with our students. There are hundreds of videos on YouTube where you can choose an appropriate body percussion with some really fun background music, or you could even make your own. That's another thing that you could do. Kind of a gentle way of getting children into the room and physicalizing things is something called a move it. This is a fire robin technique. And again, there's lots of videos online to do this, but of course you can also purchase the fire robin DVDs to learn how to lead them yourself. So basically there's a pattern with play along. We've been doing the one from Humoresque, and you pretend like your hand is a butterfly and you tap on your arm at one point and then the butterfly flies around, and another part you're digging in your garden. And again, there's no talking, but they are physically moving. Their brain is in the room and you're actually exploring the music and experiencing the music in a very gentle, quiet way as they come in. The second thing to add to your lessons is instruments. Use instruments as much as you possibly can. That adds the joy to the classroom. When my kids get to use instruments in a day, it is a good day in the music room. And if for whatever reason we are just not about instruments that day, they seem a little sad. We didn't use instruments today. So it's something that kids look forward to, and it's kind of a hook. There are lots of rules and procedures about using instruments, so definitely set that up ahead of time, but let's think about some ways that you can incorporate that into your lesson. From the very get-go, if you do some rhythm work at the very beginning of your class, whether that's echo rhythms or a play along or something like that, you can always get out hand percussion. That's super easy to get out, super easy to put away. Even the simplest rhythm sticks will give the kids something other than just clapping their hands to do a rhythm, and for some reason that's magical rather than just your hands. As you're learning different songs, try to incorporate some Orff instruments, the xylophones and glockenspiels and metallophones, as much as you can. Even if you're not trained in Orff Schulwerk, that's okay. You can at least get it started. So for example, you can have the kids play what's called a bourdon. So on C and G, it's a fifth apart. I just have them bounce those mallets on the C and the G or whatever key you're in, and allow them to play that as you sing some of these simple folk songs. As your students and you get better and better at this, you can have them break the bourdon in half. You can have them do different patterns on it. Maybe you do half note, quarter, quarter, half note, quarter, quarter. So you can make it more complex as the kids get older and more able to do things. With the older kids, you start adding not just one part, but two parts. You start adding multiple parts, plus hand percussion, plus singing different parts and all that sort of thing. You can get it very complicated, but you don't have to get it complicated. To get it started, the kids can come in and play. And you don't have to have every kid on an instrument. Even if you have a full instrumentarium with all of the different things, maybe you only have 5 kids at a time go over and play that while everybody else is singing. And that is okay. You can rotate the kids through, or maybe today just 5 kids get chosen. One really fun way to include instruments in a poem or a story is to add a certain instrument on a certain word. With my kindergarten students, I teach them play when you're supposed to play, don't play when you're not supposed to play. Well, honestly, I use that for all of my students. Play when you're supposed to play, don't play when you're not supposed to play. But in this particular one, I use a book called Suddenly. I'll leave a link below for that book. And Preston, this little pig, has all of these issues with this big bad wolf. It's a retelling of the big bad wolf story. And suddenly, and every time we say the word suddenly, the kids pick up their instruments and they play them as hard and fast as they can, and then they put them down. And then the story goes on. And then something else happens, and suddenly, and they do it. And so they put it away. One poem we love adding instruments to is the loose tooth poem. If you are like me, you have first and second graders who come in all the time, even kindergartners. I have a wiggly tooth. I lost a tooth. And so they always want to do the loose tooth poem. And there's some really fun things that you can do with that, where you add certain instruments on certain words. So I have a loose tooth, a wiggly jiggly loose tooth. I have a loose tooth hanging by a thread. Sometimes we just do it with hand motions. That's another way of adding movement into your lesson, is just hand motions, some gestures. But if you want to take it to that next level, you can take that poem or any poem and add certain instruments on certain words, and that'll give the kids a chance to play instruments as well. And yes, we can go back to the 1970s and 1980s and add tambourines and hand drums to old folk songs like Old Joe Clark, right? So Old Joe Clark, he had a house 16 stories high. You do that part. And then when you get to the round and round, Old Joe Clark, round and round I say, round and round, Old Joe Clark, haven't long to stay. So have them get out those tambourines and hand drums and play on the refrain. That's also a really fun way to just add instruments into their day. Again, it adds that level of joy that they wouldn't have with just clapping their hands. The next suggestion I have is to sit back for a minute and let the kids lead. If you add this somewhere in your lesson, it really gives the kids a sense of leadership and ownership. It gives them a sense of self-efficacy. It gives them a sense of self-worth and capability. Choose that child first to lead whatever you're doing that, usually doesn't get picked by the other kids. Give them a chance to come up and have a moment in the sun. So what can the kids do to lead? Our kindergarten follows the game plan curriculum quite a bit, especially at the beginning of the year. And there's a unit there at the beginning, usually takes about the first quarter, that's all about little farm animals and whatnot. And the chicken week is one of my favorite weeks, has such fun activities. And one of them is called Chicken Talk. Great opportunity for leadership in the classroom. There are gestures for each of the kinds of chickens, and a sound that goes with each one. So this is the baby, cheep, 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 and the mama, cluck, 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 and the daddy, of course, cock-a-doodle-doo. And I'll teach the children that when I do these gestures, then they make the sounds. And then eventually I invite a child up to do the leading in the front. It's a great leadership opportunity for kindergartners. And they just love it. They do this and this and this. They love the cock-a-doodle-doo the best. And they'll do that for about 15 seconds. And then I'll ring the chime or have the timer go off, and then they'll pick a new student. So we'll usually have 4 or 5 different kids do it each day, and they absolutely love chicken talk. If you have a regular hello routine that you do, maybe you sing a hello song where the kids get to make up a gesture, or where that you have a certain stretching routine that you do, or a vocal warm-up routine that you do, any kid that knows that routine, has been in your class for a while, can probably lead that routine. I've seen many different teachers who choose like a student of the day, and that student is the leader for that day, and they come up and lead the warm-up. That's a really fun way to get kids involved. Becoming an actual conductor in your classroom is really fun for kids. There's lots of different ways to do this. You could do a John Feyerabend human piano kind of a deal, where this group is Do, and this group is Ray, and this group is me, and whoever comes up front points to that group and they sing that pitch. It could be that you are learning a song on the recorder, and either by measure or by line, you have different groups tracking the music, and when the conductor points to their group, they have to play, and when they're pointing to a different group, then those people still have to track. That's a great way of teaching tracking with the music. So when you're learning a song, you can give them gestures or even little signs that you hold up to have them sing it loud, sing it quiet, sing it fast, sing it slow, and they get to adjust that with the kids who are performing. It's very satisfying to know that you're creating the music that's happening right in front of you. Here's the thing about those leadership things, is that the kids won't always be successful. When they're in front, you're encouraging them to have the chance and to take the chance and to be that person. Assist and support as much as you can. You know, you have special needs kids sometimes. You have kids that really can't do it. Some kids try to switch too fast. Kids can't follow them. So you just gently remind them, you want to go slow enough that they can actually follow you and know what to do. So do what you need to do to help your students to be successful as leaders, but don't give them too much time up there. For the youngest kids, maybe 15, 20 seconds. For the oldest kids, no more than a minute. But have fun with this, and let me know how it goes in your class. I'd love to know how you create those leadership opportunities for your students. I'm sure you've heard this term, to gamify your lessons. Gamify just means that you add some competition somewhere in your lesson. And this is a great way at the end of a unit, or even at the end of a day, to check for learning with your kids. They can show you a lot if you can add a game into whatever they're doing. A couple of really well-known games are Four Corners. I mentioned that earlier. So if you're doing rhythms or you're doing pitches or anything like that, you have each of the 4 corners. They have to listen for the different thing, and then if their corner is that rhythm or that melody pattern, then that corner is out. Beat the teacher is always good. So if they clap the rhythm correctly, then they get a point. If they clap the rhythm incorrectly, then the teacher gets a point. Or if they sing the pitch correctly, or that sort of thing. So whatever skill it is that you're trying to get them to do, if they individually can do it correctly, then the class team, the student team gets a point. And if they make a mistake, then the teacher gets a point. So obviously you want the teacher to lose all the time, but the kids don't know that. They're like, oh no, we got to get it. We got to do it right. They get very excited about it and very, very competitive. My school is very competitive. We're kind of a sports oriented school, so very competitive. Anytime I can add a game to things, they're all over it. A colleague of mine a couple of years ago did something like Name That Tune, and it was at the end of the year. She did it as a kind of a review of what everybody had learned during the year. So she picked songs that they knew from previous years or from earlier in that year, or even just like themes from classical music that everybody knows. And the way she set it up was she had one kid on a xylophone and one kid on a metallophone to ring in whatever it was when they knew that she'd play the song and then they'd ring in to know, and she knew because of the different timbres, you know, who it was that rung in. Now, of course, I had to take it to the next level, and I went on Amazon and I found some little buttons with barnyard sounds on it, and when you hit it, it makes the sound of a cow or a horse or whatever. Those are super cute. I'll add the link below. It's super cute. The kids adore it, and I let the team choose whichever one they want. So they only get one team. I have 4 buttons, and the team has to choose one, and that everybody on that team uses the same button. That's pretty fun. There are a million different video games online that you can play with music. Music Play Online is one of our favorite. Our school district actually has a subscription to that, so I use the games. Kids know whenever they have free time or whatever, they can always go on that if they have their laptops with them. We often either start or end a class with one of those games as a skill builder, as a skill reminder, just to have fun. The trivia wheel, they love the trivia wheel. It's super fun. Artie Alameda also had a game before Music Play ever came out called Music Madness, and there are so many good games in that. Every single one of them teaches a different concept and a different topic, and I recommend every single one of those. My kids in particular love Dunk the Teacher when they're doing their note reading, especially 3rd graders. They think that's hysterical, and they cannot wait to dunk me in the dunk tank. Gamifying your lesson is a way of adding some fun. I was a very serious music teacher when I first came in. I came from corporate America. I had been a technology trainer beforehand. I'd worked in big corporations and government contracting companies. And when I got to the school district, I came in my suit and my nice skirt, and I was like, this is not going to go. So it took me years before I really embraced the idea of including games in my lessons. And it occurred to me, I mean, you know, you learn it when you learn it, but kids learn best when they're having fun. It relaxes their brains and allows them to take in that information. And even if they play a game and they get whatever it was wrong, the next time they get up there, if they're kind of watching and paying attention, they're going to learn from each other with these different games. So embrace the games, embrace the fun, and really go with it. Let me know in the comments what your favorite classroom game is and how you include this in your lessons. My last suggestion to you is to make your lessons as active as possible. So get the kids involved. Anytime the kids are sitting and just listening, you know it's hard for them. Attention spans now are like this, really. And so you have to keep it moving. A lot of new teachers don't keep it moving. They pause or they take too much time on things, and then that just opens the whole room up for chaos. Kids, you know, they just keep moving, keep it moving, keep moving. Change it up, change it up, change it up. Get the kids interacting with you. You know, if you introduce a new concept, say today we're going to talk about dynamics. Everybody say the word dynamics. Dynamics. What are dynamics? Let's look around the room. Are there any helpers on the wall? Are there any things on the wall that can help us? Who can spot something on the wall that can help us with dynamics? And the kids are now engaged. They are actively doing something in this very boring lesson about dynamics, right? So they're looking for the poster that you have on the wall that describes different dynamics. What are some of the dynamics that you see? Raise your hand. Yes, nice job. What do you see? And you're getting them to interact with you in whatever way you can. So that's a really simple way when you're doing your lecture, your mini lecture, 5 to 7 minutes, no longer. Actively learning in your classroom might be something called read the room or write the room. If you go to Teachers Pay Teachers, there's lots of things that you can get with that. You put up posters around your room with different symbols or different concepts around it, and the kids have a sheet where they either write down whatever that concept is, or they write the rhythm, or they read the rhythm, or it's interactive. They have to get up and move around the room to do the thing, whatever that is. So read the room and write the room is a really great way to get your kids active in your lesson. I'm a huge fan of centers. That's one of the things, that's how I got started in training people, really. Well, I've done a million different in-services and whatnot, but I jumped into learning centers because I wanted my kids to be more independent in their learning and more collaborative in their learning. And I said, how can I use these centers really effectively to do that? And I actually have a course about that. So if you're interested in taking my centers course, just put centers in the description and I will definitely send you out information about that. But centers can be amazing. They don't have to take a lot of time to set up, and it's really kind of fun. At the end of my Peter and the Wolf unit, for example, in 2nd or 3rd grade, we have centers where they practice the information that they just learned about all these different instruments. So you can have a set of centers that goes with a particular unit. You can also have a set of centers that you do when your kids, your kids are going to go crazy. So like the week before winter break, I have centers that week for most of my grades. Not all of my grades, but at least 2 or 3 grades do centers, because then it's the same setup for all the kids. It's easy. Spring break, same thing. If you have a spring break or any kind of a larger school break, that's a great way to have the kids doing something fun, interacting with their friends, and learning at the same time, which is really fun. For you, really, you become a facilitator. You're standing and going around and making sure people are doing what they're supposed to do. There's lots of ways to set it up so kids are not chaotic. I know a lot of you are like, no, my kids could not. Yes, they could. You just have to teach them how to do it, and they can get good at it. I even have science experiments for my 5th graders who learn about the science of sound and sound waves and vibrations and all that sort of thing. I have experiments where they go and they do an experiment at the center, so I have that set up around the room. There's many different ways that you can incorporate centers into whatever you're doing so that your kids can be independently learning with or without your help. So here we are at the end of the video. Good job for lasting all the way through. There are 5 tips that I've given you to make your lessons more interesting with your one concept, many different activities. Again, 2 to 3 activities, 3 to 5 activities, 2 to 3 activities if you have a 30-minute class, 3 to 5 activities if you have a longer class. No more than that, you're going to drive yourself crazy. But here are those 5 again. Incorporate movement and games. Use instruments as much as possible. Let students lead activities. Gamify learning with challenges, and make every lesson hands-on. Thanks for watching, friend. I'm really glad that you stopped by today, and I would appreciate you liking and subscribing. You know I was going to say that. If this has been valuable to you. And do comment about which of these strategies you've decided to include in your classes so that your kids can learn music and have really, really fun time